in this video, I'll be walking through the exact system that me and my team used to cash collect $63,000 in the last 4 weeks using one predictable, simple system. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, the system that we utilized to actually book highly qualified sales calls and high ticket clients for our agency is insanely simple. Like, it took me probably 30 minutes to set up this exact system, and I'll be walking you step by step how to set up an ad system just like the ones that we've set up and how you can book highly qualified appointments onto your calendar. Because if I'm being honest, every single person that runs an agency or coaching business should be able to do this exact same thing, right? To get qualified people onto their calendar. So as you can see, screenshot here from our payment process, 63K in the last 4 weeks. And this month, in the last 30 days, we've booked 456 sales calls. So I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to booking highly qualified sales calls onto my sales team's calendar. And the system I'm going to be showing you is actually a lot more simple than you think. We don't do, LinkedIn outreach. We don't spend time doing cold email or, even making content. Like, even though this is a video that you're watching right now, I don't get book calls from content, right? It's one simple paid ad system that just brings me consistently qualified calls onto my sales team calendar. So when I walk through this system, I'm going to be showing you step by step everything you pretty much need to know to actually start scaling, to start booking more qualified appointments onto your calendar. So the very first thing, which is extremely important, is you only need one predictable appointment booking system. And what I mean by this is a lot of people, they get confused and they actually have multiple systems. They'll have, be doing LinkedIn outreach, they'll be doing cold email, cold SMS, cold calling. They'll have all these different ways of trying to book appointments. But for me and my team, like I said, we have a calendar full of qualified sales calls and we book 400 sales calls a month. We only use one system, right? That's it. Like, I don't do anything else apart from one simple thing. And another thing as well is that system that you have set up, that way that you generate appointments, must bring you only highly qualified people. Because, I see a lot of people when they set up this, their appointment booking systems, they're booking, sure, they're getting sales calls, but they're not booking qualified people, right? So they're booking sales calls of people that can't afford their service, or people that are, time wasters, and they actually, aren't even looking for the problem that they solve, right? So it doesn't even make sense for you to spend, 30 minutes, an hour on a call with those people. So you need your system to make sure that actually brings you highly qualified people, right? People that are looking to move forward and actually want the service that you're offering. So the service that we use, or the process that we're actually using, is paid ads. Now, with meta ads, one thing you have to understand is that it is more simple than ever, right? With the new updates and the way the meta ads work nowadays, is it's all based on the creative, right? The creative, or the ad itself, is what does most of the heavy lifting. So with our team, we've set up a process where we have one campaign, one offer, and one funnel, which does everything. And what I mean by that is, once you set this up once, you can consistently run it and have it going for months on end before you need to make any adjustments. So with this exact system, basically what we've done is we've used one funnel and one campaign. And what this campaign essentially looks like is we have 5 winning ads inside of that one campaign. So each winning ad is an ad that we've ran, or spent enough budget on it to where we can tell that it's generating a cost per call well within KPI. So that current campaign that we're running right now currently has a cost per call of $150. And what that means to me and my sales team is we can predictably generate calls based on that cost per call. If we want to get 10 calls, then we only need to generate we only need to spend enough to where, obviously, over $150, we just need to spend X amount to generate those 10 qualified sales calls. So with this system, it's incredibly predictable and very sustainable over the long term. So what I'm going to be showing you is kind of how to set up a winning campaign. What should the ad actually look like? What should the offer actually be? And what should your funnel actually look like? Because at the end of the day, if you don't know these things and you're going into this blindly, then yes, you will waste a bunch of money on ad spend. You'll burn through all of your ad spend and you obviously won't get any qualified calls. But if you do this the right way, then you'll consistently sign new clients and book highly qualified sales calls. Now, the last thing as well that you need is you need a pre-qualifying setting process. And what I mean by this is you need a process where when people do come on and book onto the calendar, you need a way to know if they're actually qualified, if they're actually going to show up to the call, and have they actually been pre-sold before they hop on the call with you. Because if you have all these sales calls on your calendar, but nobody shows up, and, or maybe they do show up, and when you speak to them, then don't even want to move forward because they don't know what you're selling, well, then there's no point getting all of these sales calls. So essentially what this looks like is this exact same system here. So as you can see, we do this, and this is my sales team's calendar, month on end, right? Every single week I scroll past, obviously you're going to have calls booked on the calendar, but what is incredibly important is this setting process right here. So every single person that's marked as a purple means that we've had to reach out to those people and individually contact them and speak to them directly. So if you don't have a pre-qualifying setting process, then you're going to have all these calls on the calendar, and you're basically going to have, no one showing up, or basically you're not going to be able to speak to anybody that's qualified. So it's incredibly important that you have that pre-qualifying setting process. So let's get into each individual point and actually kind of run through, what the system is going to look like, how you can set it up. Because obviously, if you're watching this video, you probably have a high ticket offer, right? You probably want to start selling a high ticket offer, or you're already doing, 50, 100K, or you want to actually take it to the next level, right? And realistically, the only way to do that is through paid ads, right? There's no real other way, right? So with paid ads itself, right, there's a couple of things you really need to understand. If you're already running ads, obviously you understand the idea of testing and ad spend and ad budget and kind of what the creative should look like. But if you're new to this, you have to understand the kind of creative you need to make, and what the ad should look like and what the ad should actually say. Because with the way ads work nowadays, like I was mentioning before, is it's purely based around the creative, right? So the creative, or the ad, is the same thing. They are the things that actually bring you the qualified appointments, and it's the thing that actually dictates whether or not you're going to speak to somebody who's qualified, right? So the current ad creative structure that's currently performing the best, regardless of the market, are ones where the offer is the main part of the ad. And what I mean by that is when you have an ad, let's just say a video ad or an image ad, your ad should be purely based around the offer. Now, your offer needs to be something that is genuinely going to resonate with your market. So a really easy way to think about it is, if you have a market, and let's say your market is, marketing agencies or coaches, which is obviously our market, we know that they want one thing, right? They really just want clients, appointments, leads. That's really it, right? So we need to reverse engineer an offer based around what are the things that they actually want. So if you think about the market that you're in, it might be a different market, for example. Think about what your market purely wants, like what is the actual desirable thing that they're looking for, and just make an offer based around that, right? Like, it is literally that simple, right? So if you have an offer which is what that market is looking for, and it's what it is that they desire, then your ad will perform and your offer is a good offer, right? So it's very simple. Now, with the actual rest of the ad, obviously you have your offer, but then you need to explain the way that you're getting these results, right? Because at the end of the day, if you look like everybody else and you explain how you're getting the result like everybody else, well, you're just going to appear the same, okay? And as you probably know, if you don't differentiate yourself within a competitive market or a saturated market, depending on what market you're in, then you're going to really struggle, right, to actually get people across the line. And the reason why, our ads perform so well, yes, we have a great offer, yes, we have great client results, but we actually have a unique mechanism. We actually have something about our service which is unique, and that's obviously where you can incorporate things like AI, or these new kind of systems that are kind of flashy, and people obviously want to click onto. So make sure you have a unique mechanism, something that's actually unique, a unique deliverable, or a unique way of getting the result for your clients. And then in your ad, you need to explain the way that system works, or the way that unique deliverable actually does work. So that's the main thing for a winning campaign. If you have the actual offer, right, you make that the core component of the ad, something that's desirable, something that your market actually wants, and then you make sure that you're explaining how you get those results in a way that's unique and different. Well, then you're going to have, like I said, a winning ad, and your ads will perform. Now, the last thing you need with paid ads is a funnel, right? You need to have a good funnel structure. You need to make sure that your funnel can convert people that are obviously completely cold strangers into sales calls. Because, somebody might click on your ad, but then if they go into your funnel, they might then not book in a call, right? And that will be a conversion issue from there. So your funnel structure also needs to be based around your offer, okay? And what I mean by this is that your funnel should basically, when somebody sees your ad, the idea of the funnel is to funnel them into the next step. So your funnel should have your offer as the main part of the headline, and you should make sure that your video sales letter, or even nowadays in Meta, you don't even need a VSL on your funnel, right? You can just run straight to a booking page and then have a headline. You need to make sure that your headline, or the messaging on the funnel, is purely about the offer. Like, it needs to be the main thing that the market wants, and it's the main thing, or the main reason why they're even clicking on the ad in the first place, right? So if you don't have the offer on your funnel, well, then people aren't going to book in a call with you, because the messaging on your ad compared to your funnel is completely different, right? So that is extremely important, and it's pretty much the exact process that if you set this up with paid ads, obviously it will perform. There's no doubt about it. Like I'm running this right now. I know we have 300 plus clients who are running this exact same process right now. So it works, right? Like I'm pretty much giving you the exact step by step playbook for running meta ads, right? So if you can go and implement this, it will perform. Now, obviously, you probably have other questions like, well, how much ad spend should I spend, or like, what should my targeting look like, or things like that. When it comes to ad spend, when it comes to targeting, you got to remember with targeting itself, your creative is now what does the targeting. So, like for example, with our ad campaigns, we run them to broad, and what that means is like we don't have any targeting on the back end. We don't even tell Meta who it is we want to target apart from the fact of what countries. Right? So the only targeting we have is just the countries, what countries we want to target, like United States, Australia, Canada, UK. But we don't have any targeting. So what that means is that, and just so you know as well, we only get qualified calls. So what that means is your offer and your creative is what actually does the targeting nowadays. So if you can have a good offer and you can have a good ad and a good way of explaining what it is that you do, the qualified bookings will come, right? Like you will get qualified leads as long as you make sure that your actual ad and the creative itself is going to resonate with your ideal market. Then Meta will know exactly who to show the ads to. Now, on top of that, in terms of ad spend, when people ever ask me, like, Jake, how much should I spend on ads? You got to think about it like this. All ad spend does, it doesn't dictate your result. It just dictates the speed at which you get the result. So if you spend $50 a day, you're going to get results 10 times less quick as somebody who's spending $500 a day, right? So the guy that's spending $500 a day is just going to get results 10 times quicker. They're still going to end up getting the same results technically over a period of time, but the person who's spending $500 a day is just going to get them a lot quicker, right? Obviously 10 times quicker, which is massive difference. And it's going to allow them to make decisions quicker and actually, kind of go about signing on high ticket clients in a much more efficient way than that person that's spending $50 a day, because you're capped at how much you can make per month when you're spending $50 a day. So if you want my suggestion, honestly, you should start every new campaign around $100, $150 a day, and then ramp up to wherever it is you want to go, right? You want to reverse engineer based on your goal. If you want to make 50K a month, 100K a month, we'll just obviously figure out in terms of spend, how much you need to spend for a direct ROI, right? For your ROAS, and just work backwards on that. So that's the main thing for the actual ad itself. Now, with the pre-qualifying setting process, once you start booking sales calls, which you will, if you implement the exact ad system, the sales calls, they're going to come, right? That's not the hard part. The sales calls are the easy part. Then it becomes, how do we set these appointments? Or how do we actually make sure that they show up? How do we make sure that they're qualified? And how do we make sure that they're pre-sold before you speak to them? Because I would say that's the most important thing, right? Like you can book all these sales calls, but if they're not qualified, it doesn't really matter, right? So the way it works is you need to get to every single booking that books onto your calendar within 5 minutes. And what I mean by this is every single person that's booked in here, if they're purple, we've got into them within 5 minutes and they've actually answered the phone. If they're blue, it means that they actually haven't answered the phone. And if they're orange, they haven't been contacted. So like with you need to make sure that you're contacting leads, or they're not even leads, they're book calls. You need to be making sure you're contacting book calls within 5 minutes of them booking, right? I think there was a study done and it said that like a lead is most warm within 5 minutes of it being contacted. So if you don't contact it within 5 minutes and you wait an hour, 2 hours, they're gonna forget what they've been booked into, and they're actually gonna like be less warm. So if you reach out to them as soon as they book in, well, you're reaching out to them in the most warm state that they can possibly be in. So it's extremely important that you have speed to lead covered, right? That's like mandatory. If you can't get to leads within 5 minutes, yeah, it's just you're not going to be able. They're not going to pick up, and they're just not going to really be that warm. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is you need to actually have a good setting script, which doesn't even feel like a script. I know I say the word like you need a good setting script, but it should really just be a conversation, right? When you call these bookings, because you got to remember, like you're going to get a lot of them when you set up this process. When you call these bookings, you have to make sure that you're having a genuine conversation with them and making sure that these people actually feel like you're the person that could help them get to where they want to get to, right? Like when we book appointments and we have a conversation with somebody, we need to make sure that obviously what's their current situation, where is it they want to get to, what have they tried before, what's worked, what's not worked. We need to figure out everything about their current situation and their goal situation, where it is they want to get to even tell if we can help them out. And on top of that, we want to make sure that at the end of that setting call that we have with them, we're selling the call. We're telling them why that the sales call that they booked is going to be the thing that's going to get them to their goal. It's going to be the thing that's going to help them. They need to look forward to it. They need to be excited because that's what's going to actually get them to show up to the call, right? So if we don't have a genuine conversation, which is figuring out where they are, where they want to get to, and then why they need to show up to the call, if we don't do that, then they're not going to show up and they're not going to be qualified. But if we do that, the exact same system that I just mentioned, people are going to show up and be really excited to hop on the call with you, right? They're going to be warm, qualified, ready to go. And those kind of people are buyers, right? Those are the kind of bookings that actually will buy because you don't want to be speaking to, a bunch of book calls that aren't even buy, like they're not even in a buying state. They're not even wanting to purchase right now. They're just looking around. You want to be speaking to people that are like ready to go, ready to buy, have the money, they're excited. And that's exactly how you do it through that setting call. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire process that you need with paid ads, right? Like it is the exact system, the exact campaign, offer, funnel, setting process. If you do this, and just so you know, like I'm not lying, this is exactly what we're doing. Like we booked 456 appointments in the last 30 days. Like this obviously works. I don't know why more people aren't doing this exact ad system. Everybody that I've shown this system to, if they implement it, they just book appointments consistently. So it works. You just have to make sure that you actually implement it. But if you want like my exact ads, if you want my funnel, if you want my VSL, like to actually see it tangibly and see what I'm running and see my setting process script, I'm gonna put my Instagram below. You can shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll just send it over. My ad scripts, VSL scripts, basically the actual ad itself. I'll send it to you on Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need. So if you basically want me to send you over all the ads that we're running right now, just shoot me a message on Instagram. We'll speak then. And hopefully this video was useful in showing you the exact ad system that we're currently running.